Most of us go through life believing the world around us follows certain rules. That time moves forward, people are who they say they are, and reality doesn't just bend. But sometimes, something happens that contradicts all of that. A moment so strange, so out of place, it feels like the universe glitched. Like reality briefly cracked open and showed you something you weren't supposed to see. Online, these moments are known as glitches in the matrix, and the internet is full of them. Real people sharing the exact moment they saw something they couldn't explain and haven't been able to forget. Today on Horrors Unleashed, we're going over a few of the most disturbing posts from r/glitch in the matrix. Reddit user LiquidGold83 shared a post titled, "I died last night, but I'm still here." So this actually happened last week. It just took me some time to come to terms with it. I got a phone call from my next door neighbor late in the evening asking if I can help him move a mattress into his upstairs. His mom is ill and has a big heavy sleep number bed. I of course ran over to help because they're great neighbors. I get over there and his friend, who is also a priest, was there to help. I helped him figure out how to separate the mattress from the bed so we could fit it up the stairs. We get it all moved up and back in place when my neighbor asks if I can help them move an armoire upstairs too. I think nothing of it, and we pull it out of his travel trailer and start bringing it up the front stairs of his house. This is where I died. The front stairs are 11 steps. I was on the lower end of the armoire about 6 steps up when my neighbor and his friend lose a handle on the armoire and it comes crashing down on me and I fall backwards towards the pavement. I then wake up in my dining room to my phone ringing and my wife asking me if I'm going to answer the phone. It's my neighbor asking me if I can help move a bed upstairs for his mom. I go over there and meet his priest friend again, as this has been the first time I met him. I say I can help with the bed, but I cannot help with the armoire. My neighbor was like, "How'd you know about the armoire?" I then proceeded to tell them I'm pretty sure I just died. I spent the next hour talking with the priest. He had so many questions. My neighbor didn't believe it until I described the upstairs bedroom in perfect detail down to the metal mattress frame on the door and the intricate headboard leaning against the wall. And I had never been upstairs in their house before. The priest asked me what I saw after I died. I told him I never actually died. Before it happened, I woke up at my dining room table. This story fits into what some people on the internet call a death glitch. A sudden snap back to safety right before certain death. While some skeptics might suggest this was a vivid daydream or a micro nap, the level of detail, including the correct layout of the room he had never seen, suggests something harder to dismiss. It could be explained by false memory, coincidence, or even premonition. But if his description was as accurate as he claims, it becomes much more difficult to attribute it to chance. One of the top comments on the post came from another Redditor who claimed to have a similar experience. This happened to me when I was about 18 years old. After a fresh light rain, I was turning onto an on-ramp and started to accelerate from around 40 miles per hour to about 70 miles per hour to merge with the high-speed traffic on the expressway. As soon as I touched the gas, my car swung around and I started drifting across 4 lanes of 70-mile-per-hour rainy traffic facing the cars, as my car was now facing backwards, sliding everywhere. I remember one guy giving me the finger as he flew past me. Then I remember a horrible crunching, wrenching sound, and suddenly my car was moving back the other way toward the bridge side over the highway I just turned off. As my car slid back across traffic, I was sure I was going to slam into the bridge side and in on the road below. When I got to the point where that would happen, there was another huge slamming and crunching, and then suddenly, I was just stalled out on the on-ramp, like I had driven up onto the highway and stalled or stopped in the breakdown lane on the bridge as soon as I got up there. I got out and looked at my car from all angles and there wasn't a scratch or dent or any evidence of what just happened. I remember there being a horrible, explosive type of collision twice, but nothing. I just smoked a cigarette on the on-ramp, called my parents and told them I loved them, and then went on my first date with my future wife. It was my weirdest experience. This experience is even more surreal. The user recalls 2 different crashes, with sounds and physical motion, only to find himself totally uninjured and the car untouched. A skeptic might say the adrenaline and shock distorted his memory, but others see this as another shift, like he briefly entered an alternate timeline where the crash never happened. It's also important to note how often stories like this include clear physical sensations, impact, motion, pain, before they're reset. It raises questions about how real our perception of time and memory really is. Some people point to quantum immortality, a fringe theory where your consciousness continues on a different timeline after death, as a possible explanation. While that theory isn't widely accepted by science, it's frequently mentioned in similar glitch posts like these. Another chilling account was posted by Reddit user Buggy77, titled, "Open the door to my husband who didn't move or say anything." This happened this past weekend. I was in the kitchen with my kids and my husband was outside working on his truck. I heard a knock on the garage door, leading into the house, and I looked over and saw the door was locked. I naturally assumed it was my husband who was trying to get in. I opened the door for him, and he's standing there smiling and holding some tools in his hand. This is where it gets weird. I expected him to walk in or say something, but he just stood there. I was in the middle of doing something, so I said, "Are you coming in?" He didn't answer, and a few seconds had passed, so I shut the door and walked away because I thought he was trying to joke with me. About a minute later, he opens up the door and walks in, so I said to him, "What was that? Why'd you just stand there and not say anything or try to come in before?" He claims he never knocked, never stood at the door with tools in his hand. I told him to stop getting around and that he was scaring me. He swears he never knocked and stood there smiling in the doorway like that. He thinks I hallucinated, but I'm not so sure. Nothing like that has ever happened before. Could it be a time glitch? A dream? Even though it was the middle of the day and I was up and walking around. Could he have somehow blanked out and then walked over and knocked but didn't remember? Not sure how to explain, but it's eerie. At first glance, this sounds like a moment of confusion or a possible prank. But what elevates this story into glitch territory is how physically real the moment felt. How vivid and detailed the supposed hallucination was. The woman reports her husband standing there, smiling and holding tools. Not a vague shape or shadow, but a clear interaction. The most unsettling part is what happened next. The real version of her husband entered the house and claimed he had never knocked or stood at the door. He had no memory of the encounter, not even as a foggy or lost moment. So what are the possible explanations? One idea is a time slip, where someone briefly experiences a moment from a different version of reality or timeline. In this case, she may have seen a duplicate moment of her husband walking to the door, slightly before it actually happened, and when the real event occurred a minute later, the timeline had already corrected itself. Another possibility is what some people call a doppelganger glitch. These are moments where someone sees or interacts with a duplicate version of a person they know, often with no awareness from the real person involved. It's a recurring theme in glitch stories, people watching themselves, encountering exact copies of loved ones, or seeing events that haven't happened yet. There's also a more grounded theory: neurological phenomena. Some Redditors in the comments point out that the husband could have had a minor seizure, dissociation, or even a microstroke. Moments where someone may appear physically present but mentally absent. One user replied, "My father did that at a stoplight. Just sat there staring ahead, holding the steering wheel, for what felt like a minute. Then he returned to normal as if nothing had happened. He did have a stroke a month later." But if the husband wasn't actually there at the door at all, that would rule out a neurological issue and make the experience even harder to explain. Sometimes, the most terrifying experiences aren't caused by ghosts or monsters, but by reality itself bending in ways that we can't explain. These stories don't end with answers. They leave people questioning their own minds, their memories, even the world they live in. Were these just dreams, delusions, or glitches in memory? Or did something deeper shift, something no one else noticed? Maybe these people slipped sideways into a slightly different version of their reality. Maybe we've all done it and just haven't realized yet. Thank you for watching Horrors Unleashed. If you've ever experienced something like this, a moment that didn't make sense, a memory no one else shares, let us know in the comments. And if you're still in the same reality when you wake up tomorrow, consider yourself lucky.